You drink cow milk all the time. Maybe you've had goat milk too. But pigs produce milk as well. We raise them, breed them, and eat them on a huge scale. So why did pig milk never become a normal food? You almost never see it in a supermarket, and most people have probably never tasted it. The strange part is that pigs aren't missing anything. They lactate perfectly well. So somewhere between producing the milk and putting it in a glass, something went very differently. Before asking why we don't drink pig milk, there's one assumption worth getting rid of. Pig milk isn't some bizarre substance that pigs produce only because their bodies have no better option. A sow produces milk to support her piglets, and that milk contains the nutrients they need during early development. So, biologically, nothing is wrong with the basic idea. A mammal has young, the young need food. The mother produces milk. That's completely normal, and humans already know how to turn mammalian milk into food. Cow milk became part of huge agricultural systems. Goats and sheep did the same in many regions. Buffalo and camels became important dairy animals in other places. So the mystery isn't really about whether pig milk exists. It's about why humans never turned it into a familiar food. And that brings us to something much more specific. The first obstacle isn't taste, nutrition, or even the amount of milk. It's the way a pig actually releases it. This is where pig lactation gets unusual. When piglets nurse, they don't simply drink from a reservoir that keeps flowing. Their suckling and stimulation help trigger the sow's milk ejection reflex. Oxytocin plays an important role in that process. Once the reflex occurs, milk is rapidly ejected from the mammary glands. Then it stops. The useful part of the milk ejection event is extremely brief. Studies have recorded individual ejections lasting from several seconds to under a minute, with an average around 20 seconds. For a piglet, that's perfectly fine. The animal is already there. It knows the routine. The litter stimulates the sow. The milk becomes available, and the piglets drink it. Humans have a different problem. We are trying to turn that short biological event into something that can be collected deliberately. That's a very different task from simply observing that a pig produces milk, and it explains why the phrase "just milk the pig" is more complicated than it sounds. The issue isn't that the mammary glands don't contain milk. The issue is timing. A human collection system has to interact with a reflex that evolved around nursing piglets. Researchers have even studied milk ejection through controlled stimulation. So it's not accurate to say that humans simply cannot trigger it. The more interesting question is whether that biological process makes sense as the foundation for routine food production. And even there, we haven't reached the strangest part yet. Because the sow isn't nursing one piglet. She's nursing several. A piglet doesn't approach its mother like a customer walking up to a vending machine. Nursing is a social and behavioral process. Young piglets explore the sow's teats soon after birth. As they continue nursing, they tend to develop preferences for particular teats. Researchers call this teat order, or teat fidelity. That behavior matters because the mammary glands aren't necessarily identical either. Some glands can produce more milk than others. A piglet that consistently uses one position can therefore have a different nutritional opportunity from another piglet using a less productive position. So the litter gradually develops its own arrangement. One piglet returns to one area. Another uses another teat. The sow responds to the stimulation, and the next milk ejection event feeds the group. This is not just a detail about pig behavior. It tells us what the milk-producing system is actually built around. The sow's body and the piglet's behavior are working together. And the nursing doesn't just affect how the milk is released, it also affects the mammary glands themselves. Regular suckling helps maintain milk production in individual glands, while glands that are not being stimulated can produce less. That makes the natural system highly dependent on the litter. So if you wanted to take the milk for humans, you wouldn't simply be collecting a passive resource. You'd be interfering with a system that normally has a very specific biological purpose. Again, that doesn't make pig milk impossible to collect. It just tells us that pig lactation is fundamentally organized around piglet nursing, not human harvesting. Now we can move past the biology. Suppose humans solve the collection problem. Would pig farming actually make sense as dairy farming? This is where the question changes completely. Once you stop asking whether pig milk can be collected, you're left with a much more practical question. Would it be worth building an industry around it? A sow can produce substantial quantities of milk for her litter. Milk production changes with factors such as litter size, nutrition, genetics, and stage of lactation. So again, low milk production isn't a satisfying explanation. The real issue is what happens when you compare the milk with everything required to obtain it. A dairy animal isn't valuable simply because it produces milk. The milk has to be worth collecting, processing, transporting, and selling. The animal itself has to fit the way people keep livestock. That's where pigs face a different starting point. A sow is naturally producing milk for a litter. Her reproductive cycle is tied to that litter, and the milk ejection process is closely connected to nursing. Now compare that with an animal that has already become part of a human dairy tradition. Over time, people can organize feeding, breeding, housing, milking, and processing around that animal. Once all those pieces work together, the milk becomes much more than a biological secretion. It becomes a predictable agricultural product. That's a very different threshold. The question isn't whether pig milk exists. It's whether pig milk creates enough value to justify building an entire production system around it. And to understand why that rarely happened, we need to look at how domestication actually works. It's easy to imagine domestication as humans taking an animal and redesigning it for whatever job they want. Real domestication is much less tidy. Across generations, animals that perform well in human environments become more valuable. Breeding can gradually increase the frequency of traits people prefer. In pigs, those traits have included growth, reproduction, body composition, behavior, and characteristics related to meat production. The important word here is selection. If a farmer benefits from faster growth, that matters. If an animal reproduces reliably, that matters. If its body produces a valuable amount of meat, that matters too. But milk production is another target entirely. There is no rule saying that a domestic animal has to become optimized for every useful trait it happens to possess. That's why domestication doesn't automatically turn every mammal that produces milk into a dairy animal. A pig can carry the biological ability to lactate without that ability becoming an important target of human breeding. And this distinction matters for the title of this video. The absence of pig milk from your supermarket doesn't necessarily tell us that humans overlooked some obvious opportunity. It may simply reflect which traits became valuable enough to shape the animals and farming systems around them. And pigs give us a perfect example, because despite the lack of a major dairy tradition, pigs became one of the most successful food animals humans have ever raised. If pigs were bad domestic animals, this story would make much less sense, but they aren't. Pigs became valuable food animals in many different societies. Over time, breeding programs placed strong emphasis on traits that mattered for production, especially growth, reproduction, body composition, and meat-related characteristics. That tells us something important. Agriculture doesn't need one animal to perform every possible job. It can divide the jobs between different species. Cattle can provide milk and meat. Goats can provide milk, meat, and other useful products. Sheep can provide milk, meat, and fiber. Pigs became especially important as food animals. None of that means a pig is biologically incapable of doing something else. It means the traits humans found valuable pushed its agricultural role in a particular direction. And once a role becomes established, the system around that role becomes important too. Farmers learn how to raise the animal. Breeders know which characteristics matter. Markets develop around the product. People become accustomed to eating it. Eventually, the whole thing feels obvious. That's why the absence of pig milk can be misleading. You might look at a pig and think, it has milk. Why didn't we use it? But agriculture rarely works by asking what an animal could provide. It works by asking what can be produced reliably enough to become useful. And that leads to the animals that actually dominate the dairy world. Cattle weren't the only mammals humans could milk. Goats, sheep, buffalo, camels, and other animals became important dairy animals in different regions. So there was never one universal rule saying, animal produces milk, humans drink it. The reality was much more selective. Different societies found different animals useful. Geography mattered. Available food mattered. Local traditions mattered. Animal behavior and management mattered too. Over time, some of those relationships became highly specialized. Cattle are a good example. As dairying developed, people could select animals that performed well under those conditions. Feeding practices changed, breeding changed, milking became routine. Knowledge about managing the animals accumulated. Eventually, the animal and the agricultural system began reinforcing each other. That's the part that's easy to miss when you look at a carton of milk. The carton looks like a simple product. But behind it is a long chain of decisions about which animal to keep, how to feed it, when to breed it, how to manage lactation, and how to collect and preserve the milk. None of that is visible on the supermarket shelf. And that gives us the real answer. Pig milk isn't missing because pigs somehow failed to become mammals capable of producing milk. They're perfectly capable of it. The difference is that pig lactation never became the center of a widespread human dairy system. The biology, the animal's agricultural role, and the economics never lined up in the same way. And once you see dairy as a system rather than a liquid, the question starts looking very different. So why don't we drink pig milk? The simple answer isn't that pigs can't produce it. They can. It isn't simply that there's no milk to collect either. The deeper issue is that pig lactation evolved around a litter, with a short milk ejection window and a nursing system built around piglet behavior. Turning that biology into a dependable human food industry would require the whole production system to make sense as well. And humans found other animals that fit dairy production better. So when you open a carton of cow milk, you're not looking at the inevitable result of an animal having milk. You're looking at the end result of biology, breeding, animal management, economics, and culture all fitting together. Pig milk never became that system. And that's why something as ordinary as the milk in your refrigerator has a much stranger history than it looks.